Hey guys, this is going to be like the quickest video. Um, it's just literally because I've not done one in a while, so I need to upload something. But yeah, for anyone who's watching this later, because um, I've not really planned this. It was just like a spur of the moment thing. I'm literally going to get a phone call in 20 minutes. So yeah, it's a quick one. I just wanted to discuss the last three games for City because I think Villa was the last time that I actually came on here and did any sort of updates. So yeah, so I'll start with the Sunderland game. I think that was the last. Let me just double check. I think that was the game after the last time I was here. Let me just double check, just in case I've missed one. Um, oh God, there's been more than that. Sorry, there's been more. Yeah, I think I was here previously, after the Liverpool game, Villa. I don't know. It was a long time ago. Big up to Sammy in the comments every time. But yeah, literally, it's been a long time, so sorry about that, guys. So yeah, I'll just touch on a few of the games, the most recent, the most recent games because I haven't been here in a while. But yeah, I think City's form is better than it was at the time. Even I think after we beat Liverpool, it was one of them where we kind of just a lot of fans kind of thought, well, Liverpool aren't great at the moment, so they didn't really see it as like a statement win or anything like it would normally be when you beat Liverpool. And yeah, our defence has been a little bit up and down. I think it has been settling, but there's been some crazy games. There's literally like, yeah, there's been some crazy score lines. The Fulham game, I could not believe my eyes. I was fuming. Like, and there's not many games that you win and you come out fuming. The last one before that I remember was the Real Madrid game where we won 4-3. Um, yeah, the stadium, coming out of the stadium, everyone was fuming, and it was like we've won, but we knew we had to go to the Bernabeu, and we knew that a one-goal lead at the Bernabeu is not really got any weight to it. So yeah, it was one of them. So it didn't feel great. I think being 5-1 up, there's no way you should ever let it get to 5-4. I do think though Fulham's goals were really, really good actually. So I don't think it was a case as much as, we were absolutely shocking. Even though we were shocking defensively, I do think they did take their chances when they got them. So it was a little bit of Fulham being good and having that belief, and a little bit of our terrible, terrible defending. Um, so yeah, I think Leeds as well was one of them games. It should have been more comfortable than it was, but again, Calvert-Lewin came on. He was great. Like he was really, really good. We really struggled with him, and it was one of them games where I just felt like there was a lot of last season in that game where it's two things. One, Man City defensively look very weak, and secondly, it's the belief that these teams have. Whereas years ago, if you faced a Pep team and you were 2-0 down, you knew you were going to lose that game. Whereas now, I think teams look at City and think, oh, we can get back in this. We can get something from this game. And I don't think it's just City. I think it's in the league. Like you look at Bournemouth and United. I know United are not as good as the top teams, um, but I do think a lot of these teams now, away at Old Trafford years ago, you would just assume you'd lost if it was 2-1 or 3-2 that late on. Whereas now I think teams are like, no, we can go for it. We can get the win. And I mean, Bournemouth nearly did. I know United had chances as well, but there was a few at the end for Bournemouth where really should be scoring, to be fair. So yeah, it's just been. I think this league, I love the fact that it's so competitive. Like I will never be out here like, oh, this team they were playing well against us because they should. This is a good league, and I expect every team in the league to be able to give anyone a game. Like the days of the games lost before it started, I think are over. Like there are teams that you're going to go to and it's going to be difficult. Obviously, if you're sort of mid table or below, that there's teams where you're going to go there and think, oh, I'm not sure about today, but give it a go. Do you know what I mean? Look at Wolves. Wolves against Arsenal. I didn't watch that game, but I heard that Wolves were actually quite good and had decent chances. So, you know, and that's Arsenal, who have been the best team in the league this season. So yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good for the league that teams are kind of going at games and not giving up, you know, and that Fulham game could have been terrible for us. We could have drawn 5-5 or lost 6-5, who knows. But yeah, I like it. I do like it. Not as a fan of City at that game though, I can't lie. I was fuming after that game because it did just feel like, I don't know, it just felt like for me that a lot of what we saw last season was kind of creeping back in. I think since then, though, I do think we've looked a lot better. So sometimes I think you need them games to kind of shake up. Because I know Pep was not happy with the defence in that game. And I think themselves, they'd look back on that game and think, we're 5-1 up. Like, there's no way that game should have been in the balance with minutes to go. So, yeah, I think Ruben Diaz has been better this season. Last season wasn't great, but this season I think he's been all right. He's been getting better and better, and I think he's actually doing quite well recently. Big up to the comments. There's Ryan there. You've got Sammy saying I need to review 55 games. That's literally it. Like, I'm gonna do it quickly, but yeah. And big up to Patrick. I assume it's Patrick. Saying, hey Jan, what country are you streaming from? Seattle, America. I'm always in America. So yeah, I've literally been doing nothing all day. I could have done this earlier, but I just thought, let me do it now because it's late in the UK and that's the time that I normally stream. So I thought, why not? It is 10 to 4 here in the afternoon. So yeah, there's that. So yeah, sorry, I'll get on to the other games. So again, Leeds, Foden to the rescue. Foden has been brilliant. He loves this sort of time of the season. You know, I think City in general love this time of the season. I don't know what it is about the Christmas period, but this is where they start to like step up. The start of the season is always a bit slow. It's always a bit sluggish. Pep's always trying different things. He's always trying things that might not work straight away, and everyone says, "What's he doing? He's lost it. He doesn't know what's going on." And then the next minute it works, and then if we win the league, everyone will say, "Oh, it's because City had this player who, in the start of the season, wasn't playing very well, but Pep was, you know, staying true to what he believed in." And yeah, it's one of them things. So I'm happy with City. The season started as I expected. There was nothing surprising about the start of the season for me. I knew we would be a little bit slow. The end of the season for us is where we tend to shine. Like last season, we were terrible in sort of this, just before this period, like November, December. City were not good at all. And it looked like what's going to happen to City. Second half of the season after January, we actually had the most points in the league. I know there is context to that. Obviously, Arsenal tried to, I think, focus a little bit more on the Champions League when they knew they weren't going to win the league. Liverpool had already won the league, so obviously at the end they fell off a little bit. So there is context to it, but considering how bad we were before Christmas, for us to have the most points in the league, and you know, I mean, by the end of it, we were third and 3 points off second, which with the season we were having at one point, you know, City fans would have bitten your arm off for that. So yeah, it's just one of them things. I think City tend to get better. We have done in all our campaigns, particularly under Pep, because before that I think we used to start quite strong. But yeah, he tries his things. I think he plays about a bit with the team before Christmas, and then after that he normally has his team that he likes and he will run with that. Obviously there's injuries and stuff like that we need to consider. And I do think City strengthen in January. People do forget we're in a rebuild. It doesn't get done in 2 windows. A rebuild takes a number of consecutive windows of buying 2 players here, 3 players here, 1 player here to get to the teams that we've had in the past, you know? Like, we used to bring in like 4 players at a time, like big players. Like, we signed Yaya Toure, David Silva in the same window. And they weren't the only signings. We had Boateng, who at that time was really high rated after that World Cup. And who was the other one? Bellamy. I think it was Bellamy. I might be wrong. He might have come before or after. But yeah, we had like a window where we were bringing in good players for a time, So I think City in January, I do think we only go for homegrown players. As I discussed in the summer, there's a reason for that. We have only a certain amount of players you can register for the Champions League, and we were kind of over that limit, and that's why quite a few players left. That's why you saw the likes of Akanji go on loan, because we just don't have the space for them in the squad. So if we do buy anyone, they will be homegrown or English. So we'll have to see what happens, but I think we will sign maybe, I want to say 2 players in January, and then in the summer, I think more players leave. The likes of Bernardo Silva, he's been here a long time. He's given everything to City, but I can't see him staying too much longer. I think he'll want to relax a little bit after this. So yeah, I could see the likes of Bernardo Silva leaving. We've got Jack Grealish. I don't think he comes back, to be honest. I think either Everton will buy him or he'll go elsewhere. And then yeah, just the older players really. I just don't think they stay on. Ortega, he might leave in January. If not, he'll be gone in the summer. And then there'll be the usual players, some players that you might not expect to leave might leave, etc., etc. So we'll have to see, and then we'll get players in to replace whoever leaves. But yeah, there is that. What was the next game? So we spoke briefly on Leeds and Fulham. Then we have Sunderland. I didn't actually watch the Sunderland game because I was away. So I don't want to comment too much on that. I did watch parts of it. I did see the goals and stuff like that, but I wasn't in the stadium, so it's a little bit different. Diaz, I know it was deflected, but I don't know what he's doing. I said Maya Jama must be in the stands, and she was. And it was obvious by that shot that he took. But yeah, good goal from him. Who scored the second now? Let me think. Oh, Vardiol from that with that header. That was a good goal. And then Foden. Foden's just got into form at the right time. Last season, he was dealing with a lot off the pitch. The club don't really tell everyone what was going on, but it was obvious that he had some sort of mental health issue. I know this because when he was playing, it wasn't, when a player is injured and they're playing and they're not quite up to their best, like a Rodri this season, you can see that it's like injury related. With Foden, you could tell it wasn't injury related. He wasn't there, like his head wasn't in the game. I've heard a lot of rumours about Foden, like different things that he's been going through or been through in the past. I don't really know the truth on that, and I won't pretend to know. However, it was obvious that it was to do with like mental health, that sort of thing. And you can see this season that he's past that now. The confidence has come back, just his brilliance. Foden's a brilliant player. And we're seeing that now, so it's nice. I hope he can continue it for the whole season, because we need it. We need him at his best. Haaland obviously is Haaland. He doesn't have to touch the ball very often to score a goal. That's why he's as good as he is. So yeah, hopefully we can build a run. It's way too early to talk about a title. Obviously there's a title race, but it's one of them things, I think. And I say this every season, the start of the season, you'll always get teams where they're like, what's it called? You always get teams where they think that the league is done early, and it's just not that. I think you can look at the relegation zone and say, okay, this team probably will get relegated. Like if you look at how Wolves are playing, and the points that they've got in the games that they've got. And if you look at the actual quality of the Premier League, there's not many games that you would say that Wolves can go and definitely get 3 points. There's games where there's places they're going to go where maybe they could get 3 points, but it's not going to be guaranteed anywhere because of how strong the league is. And the teams that have come up with them look stronger. Like a Sunderland, they're not going to go to Sunderland and get 3 points. It's unlikely. So I think with Wolves, you can look at them and think maybe they get relegated, but who knows? Because all it takes is for them to grab someone in January who has, a great impact, or we've seen new managers come in before and just do crazy things to keep teams up. So the points in the league, there's not that many points between sort of even first place and like 12th place. There's not that many points. So 2 losses in a row or 3 draws or something like that, and you can find yourself in a completely different situation. And that applies to City as well. Like, you know, people are talking about City now because we're coming good at the usual time and previously what we've done. And I think with Arsenal, I think they were showing signs of champions in terms of they were winning games that normally maybe they don't win. However, I do think Arsenal are always good at this time of year. I think Arsenal, where they sort of drop off is in sort of February-ish. That's where they start to drop points. So I don't know whether you can kind of say Arsenal are going to win it or they're not going to win it at this point. We don't know. Like at the moment, they looked like the favourites. They were clear of everyone else points wise, and now it's 2 points. 2 points in football is absolutely nothing. One draw, it's gone. So yeah, it's early days. Do I think I would ever rule out a Pep's team? Absolutely not. And I actually think we will win the league this year. I never normally say that because I'm always very cautious, but I do think with City, with the manager that we have and the players that we have and their mentality, I think if they want to, I think they will end up in a title race. And I don't think, well, I haven't seen another team beat Pep in a title race. So there's that. So that's why I think we'll win it. However, like I say, it's so tight at the top. If we don't win our next 2 games, we'll find ourselves, you know, probably out of the top 4. So it's a long way to go. 22 games is a hell of a long time. I've seen us come back from 8 points behind with 6 games to go. Obviously there was a head-to-head in there, but still, I've seen that before. So I can't rule out my team this early, or even say we've won it. Do you know what I mean? I will say I think we win it, but it's definitely a far away from being done. Yeah. Big up to Prime, long time no see. I'm doing good. I hope you're good too. Yeah, I'm well out west. That's why it's later than your time. It's Arsenal's title to lose, but I still think City will win it. I agree with you. It's definitely their title to lose. I think with Arsenal, I think they've been getting closer and closer and closer. And I think there is a point where you have to just win it. Like it happened with us in the Champions League. I used to say City will win it eventually. And people used to say, oh, no, City have got no chance. They've not got the history. They've not got they've not got that Champions League thing. They just can't do it. Pep overthinks, blah, 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 blah. Which they had truth to it at the time. However, I always felt that we were getting closer and closer and eventually we would win it. And I feel the same with Arsenal. Like Arsenal will win it eventually. But I just think if it's Arteta up against Pep, I don't see how Pep loses that race. I don't think he does. But yeah, I don't know. Like I was saying before to Ryan, about injuries, like injuries as a whole is a little bit of a tricky subject because an injury to certain players is not the same as an injury to other players. An injury to Rodri last season completely crashed any chance we had of winning the league. An injury to, say, like a last season, say like a Oscar Bob, for example, who got injured, that didn't change whether we were going to win the league or not. The injury to Rodri did. They were both out for the whole season. They both missed all the season, everything like that. But there's a difference between the level of player and what they bring to the team. For City, the most important player in a Pep squad is the DM. So an injury to Nico Gonzalez is worse than any injury, and even an injury to Haaland. And people that are rivals will say, well, that's crazy because Haaland is amazing. We know Haaland's amazing. He is the best striker in the world. Bar none, he is. However, when Haaland gets injured, there's other players that can score goals. Maybe not at the rate that Haaland scores. No one scores at the rate of Haaland. Haaland's a crazy individual when it comes to goals. But there are other players who can score goals. Maybe they win 1-0 instead of 3-0, but they can still score goals. There is no one else in our squad, and we've seen it, that can do what Rodri and now Nico Gonzalez can do. So if there's an injury to him, it's completely different. And we've got we've had a lot of injuries. We had the most. So last season, Arsenal had the most injuries, but Man City actually had the most players out for the most amount of time, if that makes sense. So they were missing more games than like the Arsenal players that were out. And it made a difference, massive difference to last season. Like we really couldn't compete. It's one of them things. So yeah, I think we need to keep our injuries down as much as possible. We've just got an injury to Doku, which isn't helpful. I think if you watch the Palace game, you could see where we were missing Doku. I know we won, but you could see we needed some help on the wing. And I think the phone is going to ring in a second, but I will answer it and then come back. But yeah, basically we could see where we're missing Doku, and I think we will miss him in the next couple of games. I think Gates Brentford, I think he probably would have been rested anyway because it's a cup game, and even though it's a big, we're kind of in the quarterfinals, so we do kind of need a strong squad. But I think with Pep, because everyone's so tired, they're running a lot. I think he will rest quite a few players. Whether that means we go out of the cup, probably. Right, let me get this and I'll be back. Hello? Sorry, I'm back. So yeah, I think with injuries you have to use context. I think everyone gets injuries. But there's injuries that are worse than others, I would say, on that. But the thing is, Arsenal have a good squad. They have good squad depth. We didn't have that last season. I think City is still building on that because we've lost a lot of players. We used to have, two fantastic teams. Obviously, there was the main starting 11, but then we still have players on the bench. We used to have people like Mahrez coming off the bench. Like, Mahrez is a starter for anyone. He'd start for us right now. Do you know what I mean? So we used to have players like that we could bring on. I've discussed this before about why that's no longer the case. I do think with teams nowadays, like Mahrez is not willing to sit on the bench anymore like he was a few years ago. We've seen that with Cole Palmer. We've seen it at other clubs losing their, backup players because, they don't want to sit on the bench. They want to play. They want to start. They want to be the main guy. And at these big teams, you're not really the main guy unless you're the best in your position, and it's hard to nail that down. Like Marmoush, for example, I love Marmoush, great player, but he's not starting for City. Would he start anywhere else? Yes, he would. So it's up to him now for him to kind of say, right, okay, do I want to stay at City and basically be on the bench until it's my time? And it's not like he's up against the Harry Kane, who's at the end of his career. He's up against Haaland. Haaland's 23, I think. So yeah, he's he's up against someone who is at the start of their career. So yeah, does he leave? I don't know. I think he would want to win the Premier League first. I don't think he'd leave sort of in January or anything like that. I don't think he would do that. But long term, if he's not playing and he's not featuring, who knows? But then, there's that meme, you just became important at work. If Haaland gets injured, all of a sudden, he's important at work. Maybe he does what he does last season, which actually bailed us out quite a lot. Marmoush was good last season. So yeah, I don't know. We're going to have to see. Oh my God, Haaland's 25 already. Sorry, I'm not good with ages. I couldn't tell you how old anyone is at City. Sammy says, Rodri might be finished due to the injuries. It seems Pep says he is close to being back every week. Yeah, I think he's just, what happens is when you come back from that sort of injury, you're going to get knocks. So he's just going to have setback after setback. I don't expect to see the best of Rodri this season. But I do expect that he'll come back at some point. He just needs to help out with minutes. Like, it's crazy to say this because it felt like we bought Nico in to help out Rodri, and now we've got Rodri coming back to help out Nico. It's crazy because, I mean, I love Nico Gonzalez. I have loved him since he's came, even when people doubted him. I always was like, no, this is a good player. I think he's actually been better for City earlier than Rodri, it took Rodri longer to settle into City and to show the quality that he has done. So whether Nico ever reaches Rodri's level, who knows? Because Rodri's level is very difficult. But yeah, he's been showing signs that he's, sometimes I look and I think, bloody hell, I would have thought that was Rodri, like the way he plays and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm very happy with Nico. He's been doing well for City. And I hope that he continues to get better and better. I really do. Chris, big up Chris, he says, which City game this season is more impressive? Oh, I don't know. There's different games that have been impressive for different reasons. I think going to the Emirates, for example, wasn't the best game. Nobody gave us a chance. When Pep played the way he played, people thought, City got no chance. And I think probably we should have won that based on the scoreline at the time. I know, obviously, Arsenal played better in the game, but I do think being 1-0 up that late into the game, they probably should have seen it out. And I think this City team right now would have seen it out. But yeah, results like that, you need to get them. If you're not better, get a draw. Just do one of them things. So I think I wouldn't say it's an impressive game because I don't think we were at our best or close to it at that point. But yeah, results like that are important. Real Madrid, they didn't have their usual starting 11. So they had quite a few players out. But I think to go to the Bernabeu and win is important. It's an important result. There's been a few. Sunderland are a good team. So we went up against Sunderland at home. I know we're at home, but that's a good team. It's going to be interesting to see the away game because actually, historically, if you know, when it comes to Sunderland away, I don't know what it was, but they always used to beat us 1-0 there. And even in I went there, I think it was a draw when I went. And I think we were winning late on, and we conceded a goal really late. So they have a bit of a good record against us away, and I don't know why or how, but they just seem to. So it'll be interesting seeing that game. Thankfully, AFCON has come at a good time for us because they have 6 players out. So I expect us to win, but there's some sort of judge going on in their stadium. It'll be interesting to see. But if we can come out of that with a win, then I'll be very happy. But yeah, I don't know. Games like Palace for me are big wins because Palace is a hard place to go at the best of times. I know they had a midweek game, and I know they've lost all 7 of their games after the midweek game in Europe. So we probably played them at a good time. But I do think going to a place like Palace and winning there, these are the sort of wins, a lot of Arsenal fans were saying City aren't going to win at Palace. And to be fair, I didn't think we were going to win at Palace, I didn't. So for us to go and win places like that, that's the one that I'm most happy with this season. I feel like after that, I thought, you know what? This team, they're getting serious now. And even the games we've lost, like Newcastle away, not an easy place. It's really not an easy place to go. We had certain players that have loved playing against Newcastle that's really favoured us. For example, Yaya Toure. Yaya Toure used to love Newcastle. But I don't know if you guys remember, but there was like a 4-4 a few years back. Alvarez scored a few in that. We have some crazy results at Newcastle. It's always a bit end to end, and it can kind of go either way. So yeah, I'm not really too surprised about that. And then there was Villa. We haven't won against Villa away for a long time. I think it was 2021 the last time we won there. So it's not an easy place to go. What I'm saying is the best City teams have gone there and not won. So yeah, I'm not too worried, to be honest, about City. The points we've been dropping. I think the home games for me are the worst. There was the home game against Brighton. Were we at home to Brighton? Or we were away? I think we were away. Were we away? I don't know. But that Brighton game, not a good result. But it was the start of the season. We weren't great back then. So Can't really hold it against them, but not the best result. Spurs at home. You know, when that game was, I think you need to not be losing that game. You really need to not be losing that game, especially because Tottenham are not good this season. But they always step it up against City, and it's annoying. It's really annoying. But yeah, them sorts of games, not so happy with. But recently, I've been happy with City's results. I really have. There's been a few games this season where you'd think it's kind of like the City of last season, but I do think that the pros are higher than the lows. That's what I would say. And I think with the Prem, you just have to stay up there, stay within touching distance of the team at the top, and you're good. Because in the Prem, if you stay like alongside, so say we stay within 2 points of Arsenal from now till February, at February point is where we could break off and go on some winning run and just win the league, or we could do the opposite. Like, it could happen, but I do think as long as you're up there, and I did say if we're within 5 points of Arsenal going into the new year, I'd be happy with that. So let's hope it's 2 or less. Hopefully it's less, but I do think Arsenal will win their upcoming games, even though last season they didn't. I think they will this season. I do think Arsenal have improved in that aspect. I think they're winning games that their mentality has been what people have been criticising them for in the past. Do they have, you know, when City win a game, do they have the balls to go the next day and win their game? And they have been doing that this season. They have. So they are getting closer. Whether they win it or not this season, I don't know. But they are getting closer, even if they don't. Do you know what I mean? You can see what they're trying to do. But I do also think that if they don't win the league this season, where do they go from here? Because if you 4-peat second, there's something that's not getting you over the line. And I think something will need to change. And I do think that change might actually be Arteta. But we will see what happens. They're not going to want to sack him because he's brought them from a place where they weren't competing to a place where they're competing consistently every season. So I don't think they're going to want to sack him, but will he ever get over the line? Because I think they've had a few in the past, you know, people have argued against it where I thought they should have won it and they haven't. There's always been like a kind of excuse for Arsenal, like, oh, well, you know, City were really good that season, or last season Salah had the season of his life, which is true, he did, you know, and I think without Salah, Liverpool wouldn't have won it, and maybe Arsenal win it for the first time. However, I do think there gets to a point where it's like, right, you need to win it now. Because we've seen Mancini go up against Fergie. Fergie was the most successful he still is the most successful Premier League manager of all time. He was. And we went up against him and Mancini won it. So you have to get to that point where it's like, okay, we're going up against the best, but guess what? We're going to win it. And I think Arteta needs to prove that he can do that. So we will see what happens. Maybe he does. Maybe he does it. Who knows? Big up to Mike, City FC. Big up to NS Sports TV, always. Where did I disappear? Do you know what? I'm just really bad at streaming. Like, I just not consistent enough at all. I do apologise. I actually love it when I'm doing it, but I just do not do it enough. Mike said, we didn't have a full team out even. That's true. A lot of the time, there has been a lot of injuries affecting the teams that we've put out, and I think people look on paper at results and say, oh, that, you know, that team beat that team, but context is a thing, and I think sometimes, obviously, we don't use it when we're talking about rivals, but then we expect people to use it for ourselves and vice versa. So yeah, there were so many players out last season for us. This season we've had players out. Luckily, it's not been as long as they were last season. I feel like we are getting players back. I thought Cherky was going to be out longer than he was, because that seemed like a bad injury at the time. Doku should be back for Sunderland. So I think Sunderland's on the first day of the year next year. So he's not out that long. It's only 2 weeks till the end of the year. So it sounds like a long way, but it's really not, you know. So we'll just have to see what happens. But it'd be nice to keep winning without him. And then when he comes back, he can just slot in or take his time. He doesn't get rushed back in. That sort of thing. So Sammy says Madrid shooting was crap. 1 or 2 shots on target from us. So much chances. Yeah, I don't know what was going on with your players, to be honest. I mean, I'm happy that happened. But you know, Donnarumma was not busy, despite the chances that you had. He should have been busy, and he wasn't. So I do think there was an aspect of that. I do think City themselves, they love to miss chances. I don't know. Haaland, a few City fans said this online, and I have to agree 100%. I think Haaland is an allergic. I can't talk. Haaland is allergic to a good assist. I don't know what it is, but if you see a player like dribble through, you know, do some little back heel, he'll miss it, and then he'll have some 2-yard pass and put it top bins, or you know, some crazy shot, and you think how do you score from that assist where the player has done fuck all, and then when like a Cherky is like going through 3-4 man and then he gets it, he wants to miss. I'm like, oh, Foden has been robbed of so many assists. Like him in particular, and now Cherky's getting it as well. I don't know what it is with Haaland, honestly. But yeah, he is. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but he needs to be scoring from some of these assists, because the assist is better than the goal would be, and he's missing it, and it's so jarring. Like, you have to watch City to see what I mean, but yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Sammy says Liverpool was impressive. They just came off beating Villa and Madrid, and Villa are flying now. That's true. That's true. But I do think at that time, I think City fans sort of said, "Oh, is it a one-off? We're at home. Liverpool aren't at the best, etc., etc." But yeah, I was happy because we needed to beat Liverpool. We really did. So yeah, I think, to be honest, we'll have to see what happens. But I'm quite happy with City. Sorry, I have a really bad cold, so my nose is like literally running. So I do apologise. It's been like I've been ill, guys. So yeah, what are the other games? I feel like I've not touched on all of them yet. Let's see. So we've discussed, we're up to date actually. We're up to date, so we can kind of talk. I don't do previews, but we can kind of talk about Brentford briefly. I will be at the game actually because I'm here, so I can go home tonight, and then I'll be back tomorrow. So yeah, I think Pep is going to play. It's weird with Pep. The weird thing about Pep, because Pep roulette is a real thing, but what is weird with Pep is that last season, when we really wanted him, or even earlier in this season, when we've really wanted him to rest players, he does not want to rest players. Like, I've seen Pep, we've played like non-league sides before, and Pep has played like De Bruyne. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, what? And then when you want him to play them, he doesn't do it. And then when you don't want him to play it, he will then do it. So if you look at Leverkusen, I was annoyed at the Leverkusen game because I feel like you're at home. If you look at our Champions League fixtures and look at the more winnable games, Leverkusen at home was a more winnable game than a Real Madrid away. And I think because he went and beat Real Madrid away, it's fine. Like it's kind of okay. But if you'd have beaten Leverkusen, it would put us in a much better position in the Champions League group, which would then mean that maybe we don't have to play a playoff. At the moment, we look like we might qualify anyway, but you know, you just never know. And I think last game week, the Real Madrid game week, went really well for City. I think most of the results went our way. Like Liverpool beating Inter Milan was helpful, because if you look at where Inter Milan were and where Liverpool were, that was good as long as we won, which we did. So I think a lot of the results, a lot of the teams around us either drew, like PSG drew, and it kind of worked out well for us that game week. There wasn't many that went against us in terms of results. I think Dortmund dropped points as well. So it all kind of worked out for us. But I do think, obviously, I didn't know that was going to happen when we went into the Leverkusen game. So I was thinking, if we win that, we've got 1 foot in the qualifiers, because we've got a home game against Galatasaray. I expect us to win that. And And then away at Bodo Glimt, even though Bodo Glimt are obviously not as good as City, when you go to places like that, it's difficult. So we'll have to see what happens. I hope we still qualify in the top 8 as high as possible. But I do think it's one of them things where, finishing top 2, for anyone that doesn't know, in the Champions League means that all of your home games are in the second leg. That is a massive advantage. And that's all the way to the final, by the way. So that is a massive advantage that you should be aiming for. And I think City, with the games that we've had, we could be in the top 2. I mean, we're not far off it now. And we drew to Monaco last minute, late on in the game, which obviously wasn't ideal because we should have won that game. And then Leverkusen at home, I really think Pep, he played maybe a good enough team to win, because City, on paper, that was a good team. But these are players who hadn't played consistently. And the likes of a Marmoush, I love Marmoush, one of my favourite players, but he needs consistent games to get to the level that he's capable of playing at. We saw it last season. He was great. He played every game because Haaland was injured, and he was really, really good. And he came in and he did really well. So I think when he's getting 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 2 minutes there, it's not going to be enough to build up any sort of consistency. So I think with that in mind, he needs to play more games, which is fine. But then when you throw him into a game where he's not really played before, give him half the game before. Bring him on at halftime the game before. Give him a full 45 minutes, and then you can start him against Leverkusen. I didn't watch that game, to be honest, so I don't really know what happened or whatever. But just that team on paper, when I saw that lineup, I thought, we're not going to win here. And we didn't. Do you know what I mean? We didn't. So, yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see who plays against Brentford, because Brentford are not an easy team. They're not an easy team to beat. So we now have to play them at home. We should be winning at home. I always think we should win every home game, minimum. I think we should. But who is he going to play? Is he going to go strong? He might do. He might do. We've seen him go strong in the past. Or is he going to do like a Leverkusen and play a team that may or may not be good enough? I don't know. I would have thought it would be like a combination. I thought he would have started some of our key players. Maybe have a Haaland on the bench, because you don't really want to be playing Haaland in this game if you can avoid it. But it's Marmoush is gone now. So it's do you go with a false 9 sort of situation, or do you just play Haaland? But then maybe if Haaland gets 2 goals, you could bring Haaland off. So which way do you want to do it? I always think it's better actually to go for the strongest team and then bring players off if the game is going your way. But what ends up happening in that situation is sometimes the game doesn't go your way and it's 0-0. And then what do you do? Because if you bring these players off and then you lose, people are going to say, well, if you kept Haaland on, you probably win that game. So it's a bit of a lose-lose situation, whichever way you go about it. But I have always felt in the past, if you go out with your strongest team, get some goals on the board, you can bring them off. The problem is, I think last season has scarred City, and I think now they know even at 5-1, the game's not over. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I hope he plays a semi-decent squad, just because a lot of our fans are saying they need a rest, but it's a quarter-final of a cup. You could go on to win that. You could. So, and the teams that are still in it, you also want to stop from winning if you can. So, I think he should go strong, but I don't know whether he will. So, time will tell. I'm not going to predict the lineup because it's pet roulette, but it is what it is. Prime says, would you rather win the Prem or Champs this season? So me, it's a difficult one, because normally I would always say the Prem, and I do want to win the Prem because I like winning the Prem. Plus, if we don't win it, I think Arsenal win it, and I don't want Arsenal to win the Prem. Someone did ask the question the other day, if one of you wins the Prem and one wins the Champs, which way around would you have it? And that way around, I would 100% pick Champions League, because it's better for them to win the Prem than for them to win the Champions League. for us. But if it's a chance of we win the Prem and then someone else that's not English wins the Champions League, then I would take that all day long. So yeah, if the alternative is Arsenal win the Champions League, then the Champions League. If the alternative is someone else wins the Champions League, then the Prem. Both would be amazing, but I don't see that. I think Pep actually wants the Champions League. I do think he does. He's wearing a suit. That's the thing. And also, I think he wants to leave soonish because he's been here a very long time. You know, I think he will eventually leave. However, he will want to win the Champions League before, because I think 2 Champions Leagues is a better legacy for him than to win a whole heap of Prems and 1 Champions League. So I think Pep will want to win the Champions League. I think a lot of our players would want to win the Champions League. But from a fan point of view, the Prem is always the bread and butter. So it would be nice to win the Prem again. Because we do need to rack up the titles, you know. We do need to be, I mean, we're on the same as Everton now. We're 1 above Everton, sorry, on 10. It'd be nice to get closer to Arsenal. So it would be nice. I mean, I am not fussed. Any of the 2, I will be more than happy with. But I do think from a Pep perspective, I think if he wins the Champions League, I think he leaves. I think that would be his cue to leave. I think he'd say, you know what? I've done everything now. Like, I know he's already won everything, but I think he would say, right, here you go. Have your Champions League. I'm out. So that side of me wants us to win the Prem because I want to keep Pep. I love Pep. So yeah, there's that. Sammy says Palace top 2 is done. Arsenal and Bayern are taking the piss. Palace top 2 is done. What does that mean? Oh, I think you mean the Champions League. Yeah, I think so too. I think like I say, we would have had to have beat Monaco and we would have to have beaten Leverkusen to get top 2. We didn't do that. So there's that. Are you going to get back to regular streaming or is this a one-off? I am trying to be regular. I will try. It's when I'm at home. I just don't stream when I'm at home, which I should. So yeah, I might do one this week because I'm in Manchester from basically between the 2 games. So I might do another one this week. This is supposed to be short. I am going to leave soon because I need to get ready to work. But yeah, there's that. Prior says, for you personally, which clubs do you hate most? As a Mancunian Man City fan, it has to be Man United. 100%. Cannot stand them. I grew up in the 90s. School was hell as a City fan. You know, these United fans like to tell you online, oh, you didn't care about City. Tell that to the people in the fucking 90s at school in fucking Manchester because they cared. The only ones that I know that say they didn't care or whatever went to very African schools. And them African schools, they had a lot of kids who supported Arsenal, Chelsea, etc., etc. There wasn't Chelsea. I think there's 1 Chelsea fan at my school. I didn't know he was a Chelsea fan until I left school. And I think he had like a Facebook and he put something about Chelsea. And I thought, I didn't even know you were a Chelsea fan. But bear in mind, Chelsea were very good when I was in school. Because I was in high school from 2002 to 2007. So in that time, you had Man United were more dominant in the 90s, but they were still dominant. You had Arsenal going invincible and stuff like that. And you had Chelsea who just started winning again. So yeah, it was that sort of time. City were not good. Not good. Used to get like bullied for supporting City almost. So yeah, it will always, always, always be United. It's funny because Manchester, and I say this all the time, Manchester in general has a rivalry with Liverpool. Football not included. Like if you went to Manchester and said like I'm Scouse, people would be like, "Hey, you Scouse bastard!" Like that is what you would get. Like my mum is Scouse and my dad is Mancunian, so I had that growing up. Like, "Hey, your mum's from Liverpool." It was like that. So when United fans and Liverpool, they have their rivalry. It's bigger than football. There's the football aspect of it because that obviously always been competitive and stuff like that, but yeah, there's like a City rivalry as well. Like City fans and Everton fans never used to get on. It's only really now because we're helping them out by winning the league over Liverpool that they're a bit more like they like City a little bit, but they never used to like us at all, you know. So yeah, it's a big City rivalry, that Liverpool and City. But I think Liverpool again, when I was growing up, Liverpool used to stop Man United sometimes, not always, but sometimes they would kind of stop Man United. So it was always, and that's the same with Chelsea. Like I had nothing against Chelsea because they were doing us a favour. You know, before we were good, it was like who was going to beat United? Well, Chelsea. You know, so yeah, I've never really had problems with them teams. I think City fans don't like Tottenham. And it's not because of the recent results. Like that rivalry's back to the 60s, I think, in the cup finals and stuff like that. Um, Tottenham have always been a cup team, and they used to knock us out of cups or beat us in cups, and you know that rivalry was there. I remember going to White Hart Lane, the old stadium, and you know the fans were not nice when we came out. So I'm not a fan of Tottenham. I don't like Tottenham at all. Arsenal, it's more their online fans. City actually didn't have a problem with Arsenal. Again, for similar reasons. You know, they used to do us favours when we were younger. I remember meeting a lot of people that were Arsenal fans when I was sort of in college, so around 2000. Well, actually, it must have been before that in high school, 2006, 2007. Um, there was a time where I used to meet Arsenal fans and they'd say, "Oh my God, City are my second team." Like they loved City because we used to take points off the likes of United. We used to play United and we'd get. I remember Chelsea, um, you know, they would have been invincible if it wasn't for Nicolas Anelka at Man City. Do you know what I mean? So there was a lot of times where City would almost. We were kind of like the Brighton of recent seasons, where we would play these big teams and get points now and again. Not so much Arsenal. We never really used to beat Arsenal, but we used to get points off the teams that they were competing against, and it was helpful. So a lot of people used to like City. You know, I used to get praise. Like when I said I was a City fan, people used to be like, "Oh my God, good on you," because United are, you know, United are the team that I would expect you to support. And I was like, no, it's never been. It. I mean, I wouldn't have supported United anyway. But do you know what I mean? It was one of them things. So yeah, it's been interesting. You know what I mean, to say the least. But yeah, it's been a road supporting City, I would say. We won our first title when I was 20, 20, 21, 21 I was. So yeah, it says it all. I will do more shows, Prime. I'm gonna jump off this in a few minutes because I need to get ready. I know a Man United fan who has equal hate for City and Liverpool. I once asked her who would you rather see lose in a final if it was Liverpool versus Man City. She said it depends whether it's the FA Cup or the Champions League. Yeah, it's true. Um, this is the thing because I think sometimes in football as well, the more successful team is what you want. So when Liverpool, because I don't like Spurs, but when they came up against Liverpool in the Champions League, I wanted Liverpool to win because Liverpool already had five. What's the difference between 5 and 6? Whereas if Tottenham won the Champions League before City, we would never hear the end of it. It would be City have been trying to win it for years. Tottenham have come out of nowhere and won it. Da, 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 da. So we wouldn't have heard the end of it. So sometimes the team that are the more successful one is almost the better team to win. It's the same with like Liverpool. Liverpool winning the league last season means they go on 20. 20 means they're on the same as Man United, which upsets Man United. So as a City fan, Liverpool all day over Arsenal because Arsenal are closer to us. So if we're going to overtake one, it's not going to be Liverpool. It's more likely to be Arsenal. So you have to think of things like this in football as well. So it's not always just who do you hate most, it's who do you hate most. Obviously, I'd never want Man United to win anything, regardless of the situation. That's how I know they're my biggest rivals. However, when it comes to the other rivalries, which might be less important as a Man United, for example, then I would go for what benefits my club more because I support Man City first. So yeah, whatever benefits City, I'm all for. Do you know what I mean? So there's that. She hates Man City more in Europe, Liverpool more in the Prem. Yeah, because Liverpool will go to 21. And Man City, we go to 2, and 2 is right behind theirs, which is they're on free Champions League. So if we get 2, we're right behind them. And really, if you look at City United now, who looks more likely to win the next one? Probably City, you know. So yeah, it's like Chelsea. Chelsea are right behind Man United now. Chelsea have a good run because Chelsea, they're a bit of a cup team as well. If they have a good run in this Champions League, if they get to 3, they're on the same as United. They're not going to catch United for titles. They're on 20 titles, but they could catch them in the Champions League quite easily. So it's things like that you have to factor in because they were very against us winning against Chelsea in the Champions League final because they didn't want us to win any. But it's like now they might have put themselves in a situation. Obviously, it's not their fault, but they might have put themselves in a situation where Chelsea are then gonna top them in that. And then again, who looks more likely to win number 4, United or Chelsea? I'd argue it's Chelsea. So yeah, there's that. Would I be nervous? Yeah, definitely. I hate Derby Day. Hate Derby Day. We had it in that FA Cup final, the first year, the 22-23, was our first ever final against Man United in a major competition. We won it, then we played them again the year after and they won it. So yeah, it's been happening recently. So yeah, I would absolutely hate that. I mean, the Champions League final in itself is scary. So for it to be against Man United, I'd rather not. But yeah, Chelsea, you know what? It's so funny because I predicted Chelsea to win the Club World Cup. Not at the beginning, obviously, but when it was getting a bit more serious, I said it wouldn't surprise me if Chelsea won it because they're like that. They can step up for a competition like that. I don't think Chelsea will win the Champions League this year, but it wouldn't surprise me if they go further than some of the other English teams. Let me just put it that way. But yeah, I'm going to wrap this up because I need to get ready and I've got like 25 minutes, but it should be fine. I'm ready. I just need to put my uniform on, but I kind of need to iron it, so I need to go. So yeah, I will see you guys when I get back, and I will try and stream this week, like maybe Thursday or Friday. So I will see you then. But big up you guys every time for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. If you haven't already, like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next stream.